You set a reminder, be present today, and for a while, it works. You notice your breath at the red light, the warmth of your coffee, the texture of the moment. But by afternoon, something shifts. There's a voice now, constantly checking. Am I present? Was I just lost in thought? I should be more aware. And beneath that voice, another one, quieter, heavier. I'm failing at this too. The exhaustion isn't from being present. It's from the relentless effort to be present. The watching of the watching, the monitoring, the evaluating, the constant internal audit of your awareness. You've turned presence into performance, and now, even your attempts at peace have become another source of stress. What if the very trying is what's making you tired? Krishnamurti spent decades pointing to something that cuts through all spiritual effort. He observed how the mind, in its attempt to be still, creates more noise. How the self that wants to be conscious is itself unconscious. How effort, by its very nature, creates resistance. And resistance is conflict. Today, we're going to look at what happens when awareness becomes work. Not to find a better technique, not to try harder at trying less, but to see the mechanism so clearly that it simply stops running. This isn't about learning to be present. This is about discovering what presence actually is when the manufacturing ends. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that spiritual practice is something you do, a discipline, a skill to be mastered. You've probably heard the advice, stay in the now. Don't let your mind wander. Catch yourself when you drift. And so you spend your day like a security guard of your own consciousness, monitoring every thought, policing every distraction, constantly asking, where was I just now? But here's what Krishnamurti saw. The one who is trying to be aware, the one checking if you're present, the one judging whether this moment counts as mindful or not. That one is itself just another movement of thought, another layer of mental activity. He said it directly. Why is the mind chattering, so restless? Your immediate impulse is to control it. I shouldn't think so much. I need to stop this. But the controller who says I must not chatter is himself part of the chattering. Hear that clearly. The voice that says, I must be more conscious, is itself unconscious. It's not awareness watching thought. It's thought watching thought, and calling it spiritual practice. Think about it this way. When you're completely absorbed in something, genuinely interested, your mind isn't monitoring itself. You're not thinking, am I present right now? How's my awareness level? There's just seeing, just listening, just being. But the moment you try to be present, you've split yourself in two. The present you and the you checking if you're present enough. And in that division, that constant evaluation, presence becomes impossible. Because presence isn't something you achieve. It's what remains when the achieving stops. You can observe a bird in flight without any effort. Your attention is whole, complete, undivided. Why? Because the bird doesn't threaten you. It doesn't reflect your inadequacy. It doesn't trigger the endless commentary about whether you're observing it correctly. But when you try to observe your own mind, everything changes. Suddenly, there's judgment. This thought is bad. That distraction means I'm failing. There's urgency. I need to fix this. I need to be better at this. And beneath it all, that quiet exhaustion. Because you've turned the simple act of being alive into a test you're constantly failing. here's something else that happens. Somewhere along the way, being conscious became part of your identity. You're someone who meditates, someone who practices mindfulness, someone who's on a spiritual path. And now there's an image to maintain. You find yourself at dinner with friends, half listening, and part of you is thinking, I should be more present for this. A conscious person would be fully here. Or you catch yourself scrolling mindlessly, and there's that familiar voice. This isn't very awakened of me. The practice has become another role, another story about who you should be, another layer of self to manage and perfect and judge. And the exhaustion deepens because now you're not just trying to be present, you're trying to be the kind of person who is present. The spiritual effort has become a costume you wear, and you're exhausted from holding the pose. Let me describe something you might recognize. You're in a conversation, and halfway through, you realize you weren't fully listening. So, you make a mental note. Be more present with people. Next conversation, you're there. But now part of your attention is monitoring whether you're being present enough. Are you listening well? Are you in the moment? And in that very monitoring, you've missed half of what they just said. The trying itself is the distraction. The effort to be conscious is what makes you unconscious. Here's what's actually happening. You've been taught that awareness is something you cultivate, practice, improve. But Krishnamurti points to something radically different. Awareness is not a result of practice. It's not something you build up over time like a muscle. Awareness is what's already here when the mind stops occupying itself with the project of becoming aware. When there's just looking, without the one who's checking if the looking is good enough. When there's just seeing, without the seer measuring the quality of the sight. Krishnamurti invites you to something much simpler, though it feels almost too simple at first. He says, observe, not as a technique, not as practice. Just observe what's actually happening in your mind. The trying, the evaluating, the constant judging of whether you're present or not. Watch how exhausting it is. Not to stop it, not to become better at observing. Just see the whole movement, the effort, the resistance, the conflict it creates. And in that seeing, without the movement to change anything, something shifts. Not because you made it shift, but because seeing is itself the shift. Notice if there's any effort happening right now, any trying to be here, to understand this correctly, to do this right. Notice the subtle tension of wanting this moment to be different, deeper. And when that's seen, not judged, just seen, something releases, not as another achievement, just a natural letting go. That's it. When Krishnamurti speaks of meditation, he doesn't mean sitting cross-legged with perfect posture, timing your sessions, tracking your progress. He means something infinitely simpler and infinitely more radical. To be aware, choicelessly, of everything. Not trying to hold on to awareness, not trying to improve it, not turning it into another achievement on your spiritual resume. Just the simple act of seeing what is, without the movement of becoming something else. The exhaustion you feel, it's not from life. It's from the constant trying to live life correctly, the endless self-monitoring, the perpetual evaluation of whether you're conscious enough, present enough, aware enough. And all of that trying is what pulls you out of the only place where presence exists. Right here, in the ordinary, unspecial, unevaluated aliveness of this moment. Krishnamurti wrote, "Meditation is not the pursuit of pleasure and the search for happiness. Meditation is not the cultivation of some vision. It is the ending of thought, which is the ending of the self, not ending thought through effort, through concentration, through trying to silence the mind, through seeing thought so completely that identification with it stops. That's not a method. That's not something you do. It's what happens when the entire mechanism of becoming is seen clearly. So what does this mean? It means the whole project might be unnecessary. The checking, the monitoring, the endless audit of your awareness levels. When that movement is seen, not stopped, but seen, it loses its grip. Not because you let go, but because there's nothing to hold on to. The presence you've been exhausting yourself trying to create has never been absent. It's what's looking through your eyes right now. It's what's hearing these words. It's what was here before the trying started, and what remains when the trying is seen for what it is. The peace you're seeking isn't at the end of mastering presence. It's in the recognition that there's no one who needs to master anything, just life, happening, breath, breathing, awareness, aware, no effort required, no grade given, no failure possible. What if the person you're trying so hard to become, this perfectly conscious, always present version of yourself, is just another idea, another image, another form of resistance to what's already here? Not forever, not as a new belief. Just look at it. See if it's true. The mind doesn't need to be trained into presence. It needs to be understood. And in that understanding, when it's complete, the effort doesn't get dropped. It's seen for what it always was, another movement of thought, another form of resistance, another way of being at war with what is. And in that seeing, it ends. Krishnamurti says it clearly. To know oneself is wisdom. Not to know oneself deeply, fundamentally, is ignorance. Self-knowledge arises when you observe and understand all your feelings and thoughts, moment by moment, day by day. The totality of this understanding will solve the problems of life, not through trying, through seeing, not through becoming more aware, through understanding what awareness actually is, when it's not a project, not a practice, not another way to improve yourself. If something in these words touches something true, not as information, but as recognition, stay with us. We're here exploring these territories together, not to arrive somewhere, not to become more conscious, but to see clearly what's already here when the occupation with becoming ends. Until next time, rest. The awareness you've been chasing has never left. It's what's looking for itself, and when that's seen, the exhaustion ends.